watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am your host, Andy. With me this week is Matt, and I don't have a fancy intro, so let's just get into it. We are now 3.5 hours into this season of television, Matt, and I want to know how you're enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty entertaining episode. Enjoyed it much more than episode 1. It's getting in, you're still in the getting to know phase. It's hard to be like, yes, I'm all in right now, or no, this is the worst season ever. It's early game.
You were supposed to fill more time there because I'm trying to avoid every week, like last season, being like, hey, it's fine. Yet here I am.
Is it fine? Is it fine, Andy?
It's fine. It's welcome to my podcast where I express mild opinions about a show. This is why I think my reaction is tepid, which is not the same as negative. Mm-hmm. I need to enforce that to an internet that only believes in everything is awesome or everything sucks. It's just too damn long.
Yeah.
We have gotten a lot of Survivor to eliminate 2 people, to view 2 challenges, to get 1 advantage. Like it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and that's my biggest flaw as well. Like, a lot more happened last night, but it all happened at the end. The episode for that first hour wasn't that interesting. It was kind of slow moving, and then it had a great last half hour. And the fact is, if that was an hour-long episode, I would be coming on here and I'd be like, that was an amazing episode, great start to the season. Instead, I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good. It just, wish we didn't have that first half, wish that first half hour was cut down a bit.
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, because it did kind of end fun to the point where there was musings and grumblings on our comments of people saying what the hell left is there to do? Why is this so long? Which, yeah, I want to say bravo. I know this is not the majority opinion out there in Survivor, so thank you, fans of this site. But then stuff happened. They're like, oh, it justifies it, and that's not true. Yeah, it could have just been a lot more stuff in the traditional 42 minutes. This, hunting for beads, which we will get to, and it was fun, did not require another 20 minutes of real-time television.
Yeah, because let me remind you that after the challenge, we first go to the tribe that's going to tribal council. We get some initial strategy talk, which, knowing what happens later, that, they could have folded that in a bit more. And then we go to the tribe that won the fishing gear, and we have a pretty lengthy segment on the fishing spear, to the point where I was thinking, oh, Gabler's going to spear himself. He is going home because he is going to spear himself. Otherwise, why would you be showing us this lengthy segment on a tribe?
He didn't even lose the spear. He just it looked awkward at first, which, I know is designed to make him look like a dummy, but I bet your first couple tries of anything look a little awkward.
There was no point to it, there was no point to that segment. And at that point in the episode, you should be gearing us up for tribal council. That did not need to be there, and it didn't justify its presence there. You go down to an hour, that's gone. They shorten a few other things up. You don't really change the flow of you don't change the overall story of the episode that much.
Yeah, and I don't even need to go piece by piece, what didn't need to be there, what was a bad scene, right, and all that. Sure, we get a lot of color, we get to know the contestants. I put scare quotes there for the people not watching the video, because I'm going to get into that. But what you lose is pace. Pacing is really important to entertainment, and I know there is a vocal fandom, part of the fandom, that it's all like, yes, this is what we've always needed, 90 minutes. And me, it's like, no, this is why I've always said we don't need it. TV shows don't need to be, you guys are talking about movies. That's movies, which used to be 90 minutes and now are too long. And that's a different problem altogether.
That's right.
It's just, yeah. So do we get to know them a bit more? I guess what we find out is that they're all used to be people before they came on Survivor and that they have to do chores. Like that was kind of the overall extent. Do you get a vibe? Yeah. And then the people are like, well, and that'll pay off later. Maybe, maybe not. I think in modern Survivor, it's hard to tell long-term storytelling because there's not a lot of long-term planning, but we will find that. But yeah, it's just the two episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Where just not a lot have happened. Like, yeah, I don't mind a premiere that's a little longer. Although I already said last week should have been 90, not 2.
Yes.
But sometimes they're not going to give you a 90-minute time slot. It's awkward to start another show halfway through the hour. So I get that, fine. But it's just like, not a lot has happened. And again, it's not bad. It might pay off in the sense that like I'll feel a bit more. Although I felt not much about either person who have left so far, nor the person that was like the other contender. So it's not like they really built those characters up very much. And mostly I feel like every character is kind of being largely built up the same, with the exception of maybe 2 people of like, hey, these people seem like nice people. Cool. But it's pace. Survivor is a show designed to feel like lots of going on, right? We do get the segments of camp life and all of that, but then there's a challenge, and then we get this next break, and now it's time to fight for who's going to go home, and then we have the voting. But this is, you're losing that, and it's just felt a little too languid, and I don't want that from this show or many shows. And again, that makes me sound like a simpleton. We sometimes go through this when we talk about action movies, you and I like quiet movie TV shows that are character driven. Those shows are better than Survivor. That's not what Survivor is. They employ like real actors and real directors and all that, and these are just kind of folks. Anyway, your turn to talk.
When Survivor can have a multi-minute long segment where a character slowly deconstructs something in the way that like Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad did, then we can talk about languid pacing. But I agree with you. The premiere should have been 90 minutes. The premiere was way too long at 2 hours. And it really felt it. Like it was like, okay, come on, let's get moving. Let's get moving. And 90 minutes is great for a premiere because you do want a little bit of extra time in that first episode to get to know the people. And also because there's all this like setup to a new season. So you get like the extra half hour of setup, and then you get into the normal half hour rhythm of the show. But after the premiere, there's no reason for, this episode to be 90 minutes. There was not, it didn't justify itself. And, I don't know if it was always intended to be that way. If they did, they should have put a reward challenge in here, in my opinion. But they didn't. Or if it was just, they had the really exciting ending where a lot happened and they're like, well, maybe we can just talk them into giving us an extra half hour. And I kind of feel that's what happened, but I think they should have found other places to cut.
Yeah. What I hope happened is that they were told, hey, can you do us a favor? We're missing half an hour from our schedule because there's like to the degree where it's like, hey, the beads really did that. For one, we're going to get bead scenes 2 more times this season. So if you think that every time somebody has to hunt, talk for beads takes another 20 minutes, we're in trouble. Tony was able to get a bunch of coins from everybody in a normal 42-minute episode.
Yeah,
do that. Okay. So no, just this makes me, I guess, a really poor super fan. I do not want a 90-minute TV show. I do not think Survivor has the chops to fill such time without losing pace. And in that sense, it's not even that big a criticism, because you know what other TV shows struggle with really long episodes? All of them. That's not television. Television is paced a certain way. They're like the only shows that I regularly watch that are over 60 minutes is like Ninja Warrior, and that's kind of more because it's more like sports. And even still, sometimes that feels a little long. We often watch it in like segments. We'll tell each other like I got to this part, or I'm like about halfway through. And that's still just a summer show, and I think it's like what, 6 or 8 weeks long. Television shouldn't be this long. I have other things to do with my life.
Yeah.
A lot of what we saw tonight is the stuff that just kind of used to be put on bonus scenes, and the super fans would be like, why didn't this make the episode? Just because episodes need to feel like they're moving. There's forward momentum, because again, we're 3.5 hours of the season. I don't think there's any forward momentum, and that's fine because we're only 2 votes in, right?
That's right.
But it's just like, okay, 2 tribes ultimately decided to vote based on largely tribe strength. This one a little more, obviously not fully tribe strength, but they didn't make a big move. Like there was
Right.
it was just kind of okay. And do we know where the season's going forward? No, of course we don't. We're only 2 episodes in. It's just, content wise, we're like 4. So Survivor does not need to be 90 minutes. I know everybody's like, this proves it. No, this proves the opposite. And if anything is able to ever get me to stop watch Survivor, that would be it. That this show becomes more content. And I know, look, other super fans will watch the versions of Survivor that has, I don't know, 10 hours a week of this. Sorry, I got other things to do, man.
Just one last point on this is that I had forgotten this episode was 90 minutes. And so I actually thought that it was a normal hour right up until we went to Gabler with the spear. And because honestly, right up until that point,
it was paced,
you could have made it a normal hour, because normally you'd go right to tribal council and you do a vote, and it would have been like a pretty straightforward vote that they could have fit that in. But that but then it's like, well, they're like, well, we have the beat segment, and that's going to take a while, and then tribal, and so then they had to just find another scene in there, and that's where the spear scene came in. And it was just like, okay, I get what you're doing, but also like this felt paced. Right. It felt paced like a normal episode, and then it slowed down. And again, that last half hour was very entertaining, but it slowed down, but the pacing was off. So
yeah, I'm the guy who saw what the episode lengths of Stranger Things before the season came out and just groaned.
I haven't watched them yet because of that. I'll be completely honest.
I was actually about to ask you that. It's like, did you even watch? Because I think, it turned you off.
I will get to it eventually, but it just doesn't call out to me when they're that long.
And I'll say right now, it in no way justified the extra length. Yeah. It was, again, other fans want as much as they can get, but that's not the median. And those fans will dig in, they'll read all the other stuff. And another problem is, for me, and we might differ here, I don't know, is a lot of the extra stuff we're getting is all that preseason crap that I intentionally skip. Suddenly they've taken all the personal content from the preseason that I have willed out of my life, and they keep filling it into the show. And it's just like, it's not all bad. Again, individually, there's different things. I'm not going to point to why this person's personal story has value, whereas this person's doesn't. Although, if we had to rank, I'm sure we could. It's more that
that's suggesting that I remember everyone who's given personal content.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it
far.
probably have to be a blog post more than a conversation thing. But yeah, I get it. They were people before they got on Survivor, but I'm interested in who they are when they're on Survivor, and we're actually not getting a whole lot of that yet. We're getting a whole lot of who they used to be, and who they used to be were people not on television. I care about people on television. What do you think about the kind of the debate? Frankly, I don't know if it's a real debate out there or one that I've started myself, but I have a website where people talk about things. So it's a debate about whether there's just a little bit leaning too hard into the personal content.
I think, this really kind of started popping up last year in 41 and 42. Yeah. And I thought it was really enjoyable then, because it was it was new, it was different, it was innovative. I feel like they're just hitting it a little harder this season. And that's probably because the episodes are longer, and it's just they need to fill this time somehow. Whereas, in the previous 2 years, I just felt they were working it in, and it wasn't the overload. And yeah, I agree. I want to see what's happening now. I don't necessarily want to know their entire backstory. You want to get snippets of it.
Yep.
Look, you don't want them to be completely tabula rasa. You want to know that Jeremy's out there because Val's about to have, they're, some is pregnant and is about to have kids while he's out there. You want to know, you want to know some of that stuff, because that like then informs what they're doing on the show, like why they're playing what they're doing or how they're playing that way. And, to that end, I thought that like Gio's personal content was good because it was all about Gio talking about why they are playing the way they're playing because of what they went through.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you that I think it is too much overall.
Yeah, and part of it also is there's not a whole lot of variety. It's everybody's old sob story. And then at that point, it just becomes who's is sobbier than the rest. And
Right.
there was a bit of this last season even.
There
where
was.
They're like, you had all this, and then it's like everybody might need to just slow down because you're not beating the guy who reconnects with his father on his mother's deathbed after it had previously been, disavowed by his family for, being in trans. And then later to find out that he's like, overcoming like lithium addiction, like this guy wins, everybody else slow down. And that's not a great way to be doing this. And I almost feel like coming off of a couple seasons like that, these contestants now are primed.
Yes.
To the point where like they either they were cast, we all want these unique stories, which in that point becomes more like an ABC type feel-good show that I'm worried about it's becoming. You're the ones where they give poor people houses that they can in no way afford, or like when they used to try to make us feel good about people's bosses by having them work like a shift at a regular thing, like that kind of everything's
or like American
story.
Ninja Warrior,
or like the show we watch all the time, and I brought it up last week, the American Ninja Warriorification of the show. And some of it's true and genuine. They have found some really interesting people, but it's like if you're casting for that, then I think it's going to become a narrow problem, because there's some of the greatest people in the history of the show were there because they were narcissistic assholes, not because they have a beautiful human story. I never want to hear about Boston Rob's backstory. It would only make me like him less. It's probably that might be true of Tyson and Parvati. Like there's all this stuff, but now everybody's got to be an inspirational figure to the point where, and this happens on Ninja Warrior too, they got to find something if it's not there, right? Like the only way I'm going to get the clip package is either A, if I come up with like a kooky character, or I'll have to hunt around, and like suddenly I'm mentoring somebody I met last year and they're going to be on the camera cheering for me. Like I worry that that's the direction Survivor's going, but also like I said, there's not a whole lot of variety to it. Everyone's got some kind of tough break thing, so it's like at that point either, oh well, what a nice bunch of people, okay, or you start being like, well, yeah, that's nice, but you don't have Gio's troubles. That's kind of shitty too. Like, oh hey, that's really interesting that you were kid president, Dwight, but I kind of didn't like the pictures you were taking when you were a child, so you're canceled. Like or can you compete with Jesse? I don't think so. So
I don't think so either.
That's a problem, but it also, we're not actually getting to know them any better. We're getting to know the biography that, again, used to be in the articles I would skip. This presentation, and it's just another form of manipulation, right? The show edits these clip packages and it's like, hey, this is a great person, just like some other reality shows do. And a lot of those great people in those other reality shows are probably also pieces of crap, So it's like, are we getting to know who they are and what kind of survivor they are? Are we getting to know how they're interacting and all that? We did a bit with Gio and Ryan, and I thought that was nice. But if every time it's, I have some inspirational thing to come over, it just feels like what Survivor is, feeding us is not these people, but the idea that Survivor is this transformative experience of good. We are out here doing good in the world and feeding you good, and it feels exploitive.
Yeah, but I also think that they're pressing that button hard because that's like what Jeff Probst thinks about Survivor, and he has a big hand in these things. So
yeah. Well, and this is totally probably what like he wanted his talk show to be, right? So he keeps finding this and it interests him. So it's like, I'm not here to like tell people that are into this sort of thing that they're bad. I'm not even like oh, I'm a stone-faced game bot and I don't care about people. It's just when it's the same note every time, it starts to make me question, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And it's just the same thing as like in the premiere, where everybody starts talking about how great Survivor's been for them in their life. is that there because it's true for these people, or is that there because Survivor wants to push that story about how great Survivor is?
Yeah.
Like it'd be different if it was in an exit interview, or again, it'd also be different because I probably wouldn't see it. There's that. And like, it's another thing to remember about people once they get on this show is by the time they get on, they have been interviewing and talking about themselves for a very long time through several parts of the interview process. They've done preseason press with whoever's out there. I'm not sure if people actually got to go on Alan this time, but they're, calls and all of that. They've already done producer segments. So they're just so accustomed to, like,
you just tell the same
story.
It's like when you see actors on, like an interview circuit, they'll tell the same stories and they'll just punch it up a little bit, every time.
But it's also, they now understand what the show is looking for, and that's when they dial back in the mental Rolodex. Okay, well, let me find the inspirational angle. So whether that's true or not, of like that's something they carry to day to day, certainly for some of them it is. Certainly some of them it's tied to the core of their being. But it also feels like something you're selling. And like, this is a story I have, and I don't know if it's interesting or not, but hey, this is my podcast. Canada used to have a really terrible reality television show that was like our attempt at kind of like a real world thing. And they did open casting call. Like they went around to different cities. So I actually, I watched the show a bit. It was deathly boring, but I was, clinically depressed. So having something on TV that was, that basic was actually helpful in some ways. I could have it on and ignore it. So I go into the thing and they like ask on the questionnaires, all this stuff, and like interesting stories that you talk about on the show. And even when I'm filling that out, I'm starting to come to the realization that the answer is nothing, right? There's nothing particularly interesting about me. But then I'm like, well, I need something. So I like wrote like my experiences with, depression and all that. And then I'm in the interview with the person. Very quickly, I could get like, I am not what they were looking for. And frankly, I shouldn't be on television. I get that now. It's just in this like interview process, right? And then they asked me like, oh, we have this about the depression. And like, I just, in that moment, I'm like, this is what it is. This is what you have to do. You have to like sell these tough parts of your life if you want to be on TV. And I'm not saying that's what happened with these people, but the more Survivor like is always finding people with tragic backstories, the more it feels like we gotta like get people like that's gonna be our hook. We're going to sell commercial time and hook in families by getting people to relive their trauma.
Yeah.
So it's like, just, and again, it could just entirely be because this season has had at least 60 to 90 more minutes than it should have. All right, so let's talk about the actual like moves, unless you have another take or anything.
No. Let's move on to the actual episode.
Yeah, and like as I'm speaking in that interview, by the way, I'm like, it's nice that she's even being polite enough for me to not just be like next, because like I don't want to be on TV now either. I don't want to be in this interview. So, and I am incredibly uninteresting in that regard. All right, so we did have a decision. And pretty much when it comes to Vessi, there's really only one person that was decided. Like everybody else had already made a decision. This is the person I want to be with. This is the person I want to be with. So when analyzing whether it was a good decision or not, let's just ask if Jesse made the right decision and when he decided to vote out Justine instead of Nenka. What do you think?
I mean, I think Jesse thinks that's better for his game.
What do you think Jesse made the right decision? Forget what
I guess it's all about it has like nothing to do with like challenge and all that stuff, because I don't think it's going to make that big a difference. Justine versus NECA, though NECA was really bad in that challenge. Don't get me wrong. She was really bad in that challenge. I'm just not saying that's going to necessarily be true of all challenges, but what it really matters is like, does this find Jesse in a place where he is part of a very solid majority alliance, and would he have been in a solid majority alliance had he made a different decision? And I guess the answer is like, maybe this is a bit more reliable, but also this alliance relies on Cody, and I don't know if you could ever put the word reliable to that guy. So
I'm with you on the challenge thing. Like a lot of people were up in arms like, oh god, no, she's terrible, this is going to be the terrible tribe. I feel like a lot of those people were saying the same thing about Baka last week. Like they're already forgetting that Vessi won a challenge with NECA participating in it. Like, she was bad this week. It might not be an every week thing, and it's not like we saw Justine shine in any particular way.
No.
We just saw NECA be worse.
Right.
So like, yeah, is it? I think it's marginal from that, at least from the evidence we have. Yeah, the thing I'll say with tying himself to Cody, because he is fully tied to Cody now.
Oh yes.
He is, betrayed Dwight, and that's a big misstep that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously, Noelle is not going to be happy with this, and he activated Cody the idol. So Cody's not going anywhere. But I think the fact that Cody came to Jesse with that beware situation, and in fact did not go to NECA.
Go to NECA. Yeah.
I think that shows that like there's reasons for Jesse to invest in this. Would Cody be an ideal partner? No, that's probably why he wasn't one in the first place. That's why he was shopping for Dwight. But it's like, okay, I got him. Dwight, I don't know if I got. Jesse was making a lot of overtures to Dwight, whereas I think you might have gotten the sense, especially in the conversation he later has with like Justine, that like Dwight might be still kind of measuring his options and maybe kind of wanting to be like the three with Justine and Noelle.
Jesse even said that much. Jesse said that Dwight wants to play with the girls, is what Jesse said. Talking about Justine, and such. And I think, what I really think it comes down to more, I think you're right that Jesse had probably a stronger bond with Cody than we really saw, because Cody did come to him, but also what we saw was that Jesse just didn't trust Justine.
Yes.
And so why would you throw your lot in with someone that you just don't, you think at the end of the day, you just can't trust, when that's like a big decision on a tribe of 6. Yeah. You can't just vote straight strength on a tribe of 6. You have to think about like, who's going to be my alliance? Like, who is going to protect me from being the next person out or the person after that? Yeah.
It's really not any more complicated than Jesse didn't get good vibes from Justine. And we can discuss all the reasons why or why not. There's some interest there. But I think he told Dwight, I think he was just honest. That's like, it didn't feel to him. And I think that was a correct assumption. I don't think Jesse was anything but Justine's fourth option, right? To the point where she farmed out his vote to Dwight, right? So whereas Cody and NECA do not, they think there are 3 with Jesse. Everybody else is talking twos, but clearly Jesse
and they think there are
3. Cody and NECA, and maybe even Cody himself. So yeah, like if you're feeling that way, and then you get extra stuff, you get her talking about how great she is at lying, which is a great thing if you have a bond with somebody and like we're working together. Not a great thing if you haven't formed that bond yet.
Nope.
And then like in the conversation with Dwight, where she does not approach that situation in a while, she like again raises the idea. It may be even an understandable one. Her neck is on the line. I could understand being insecure, but in no time do you ever feel that way. Now, I do wonder why he doesn't feel that way, just given some of the language he uses and why he's trying to sell it to Dwight is just classic. I can't trust the pretty girl.
I was wondering that too.
I don't want to go as far as it's like Brandon Hansian, although Jesse
no, I don't think it was.
Guy,
we're gonna get into Jesse as the wife guy.
Sure, there might be some elements, but we're talking first vote here. If you don't have good vibes with someone and you have options, then just get rid of the bad vibes.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't want him to, if it was up to me, I would have kept Justine over NECA, because I don't think NECA did much. Like that, she wasn't featured much in the show. We get her brief moment, in the opening mat with Jeff talking about how Survivor helped teach her the language and stuff, because it's obviously a generational good and needs to be basically public television at this point. That's how good thing Survivor is. Whereas with Justine, she's incredibly attractive. I don't really have another thing just yet.
I was waiting to see where you're going with that. I knew what you wanted to say. I just wanted to see if you actually said.
If I would lie, no. People come to the show for brutal honesty,
right?
I'm very interested. So yeah, like what is Jesse's problem with her is like he doesn't know how to be around a woman that attractive, or just the show just every attractive woman is a parvati, or every attractive young woman is a parvati. Every couple is a romper, right? But it's also interesting, like in the fandom, how it's like, oh, she had potential for villain. It's like, really, how come villain? Because she was scared of spiders,
right?
Or is it because that also happens with the other?
Yeah. That scene with her scared of spiders is a pretty funny scene.
It is funny, yeah.
That was good. Okay, I want to talk though about since we're on the Jesse subject, I want to talk about Jesse going full wife guy with Dwight, because that was very entertaining. It started off as like, oh, okay, you got a metaphor here. I like it. It's, you're talking about a relationship between two people, you're relating to your own life. And then he just kind of kept going deeper, and he was like, okay, now this is what me and my wife do. Okay, now me and my wife have a code word here. Now me and my wife, like if we're going to communicate, you're my island wife. So we got to communicate like this. And I was like, whoa, dude, you're taking this way too far.
A little bit much.
A little bit much.
And again, maybe the editors are like, we've got something here. It's a thread, we can go together. And there's plenty of other chimes where he's not talking about his wife. Like I'm sure, on the challenge, it wasn't everything was about Kiki for the people that watched and suffered through it with us. But yeah, no, it's like last week I really related to Jesse because he's like talking about how he doesn't really have any friends or do anything other than hang out with his wife and family. And now this week is like, see, this is why I'd be terrible at Survivor now, because I have like no other points of reference or anything, like pop culture, I suppose, the internet, although I am of an age old enough that I know, like I'm still ashamed of like my level of internet thing, and I try not to like mention it much IRL. So like, would I just be always like, yeah, my wife, my kid, because I don't got nobody else. I don't do anything. Especially if I'm trying to hide my Survivor stuff, which is a natural reaction to me, because like I'm from the Survivor fandom part where like this is not something we discuss in like proper company. This is a shameful thing that I do.
I mean, I would hope that if you ever had to talk about someone not your wife and kid, and if you refer to the other podcasters, you would not refer to us as your friends, because that would just be crossing a line.
Yeah, but then it's like I might have to, because it would be worse to mention that I have a podcast. Yeah,
you'd be put in a real bind there.
Yeah, I'd have to pretend you guys are like coworkers or something.
There you go. Yeah. So I got a side project,
Matt, you're the best side piece. I have to keep leaning back so people don't just see my shirt as sub. I didn't think that one through. Video. Yeah, no, I mean it was a funny bit between Jesse and Dwight. I'll say that it also led to a major tactical error on Jesse's part. He in no way, never should have. There was no value to it in saying my vote is your vote.
Dumb. It was real dumb.
Just
it was real dumb.
Bad, and that might hurt him going forward. Now, from here, like in the narrow Yesy sense, he's in a 3-2, right?
Yeah.
Dwight does now have a vote, but it won't be enough, because I don't think anybody will be losing votes. Actually, you know what?
I would not count on that. They're probably going back to that island.
The beware advantage is already activated, but there's the island thing.
Yeah,
and absolutely. If Cody goes, he is risking it.
God damn it, he totally is.
There's no matter. You could do ding. So yeah, there's that. But it's just like Dwight is even giving him the out. Frankly, I think some of it is an out for Dwight too. It's like, well, if I don't have the power, I also can't assume the responsibility. And Jesse's like, no, like just say no. Like you have a voice. I'm interested in your input, but it's your call, and don't let him think otherwise, because the minute that Dwight doesn't want to do what you want to do, you're not doing what Dwight wants to do. You're going to do what you do, which is fine. It is your vote, your decision, but you led him to believe that he had a say, and then you just ignored it and blindsided him with it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I think, had you not said that to Dwight, then when you made the decision you made, Dwight would have been like, damn, I wish it had gone another way, but he wouldn't have gotten his hopes up. Yeah. Once you say that, he's thinking like that suddenly it's going to go the way he thinks it is. So you are betraying him more this way. Yeah. It is more of an act of betrayal.
Yeah, and an unnecessary one at that. Like,
Yeah,
he created the situation for betrayal where there previously was not one.
right.
So yeah, we're fine with Justine over NECA, but should they have voted somebody else out entirely? Like, should they be just in like, hey, Cody doesn't have a vote right now, and let's just get rid of him?
I mean, again, I would say that the problem there is that Jesse and Cody seemed a lot close. Like I think we're a lot closer than than the there's 3 pairs of 2s are, because again, Cody came to Jesse with this.
Mhm.
And frankly, one thing that I was talking about last season, the season before, is if someone that you're allied with has the chance at like an idol, you should maybe help them do that, because they might use that to play on you.
Yeah.
Or you can use that for your alliance. It's too early to think about how this is going to just benefit one person.
Mhm.
You're not at that point of the game yet. If you're, now if you weren't allied with him, then yeah, you should try to vote them out.
Yeah.
But he's close enough allied with him that that Cody came to Jesse about this.
Yeah, 100% agreement. And again, like, why help him get that idol? Because then you have an idol with this guy that like you clearly can get to do things for you, because the whole hey, just use your hat to get beats, that was Jesse's idea. Like, if I'm
That's
Jesse right now, I definitely feel like Cody is somebody not necessarily I can work with that, but more somebody I can use. Now,
Yes.
could that backfire? Of course, 100%. Everything.
Of course, because it's Cody.
It's a volatile thing, but whatever. Risk not, want not. And like, now Cody is this just bright, glowing, shield, because he's always going to draw attention.
Oh yeah,
and especially if you're somebody like Jesse, who is a little more low key, who only has stories about like 2 people in his life. Maybe you need a Cody as an alliance partner.
Yeah,
because you're the quieter one behind the scenes. You might need somebody a little out there, kind of like how like Ricard and Shan were a good pairing until they absolutely weren't. So I don't mind it, and frankly, I'm also happy about it, because I'm not ready for Cody to go anywhere. What's your take on all things Cody?
In the first episode, I thought he was a bit much. And then in this episode, I was like, hell yeah, Cody, give me more Cody. I need all the Cody I can get. Because look, we were talking about this on the Slack, and John made the comparison, and it's totally apt. If you watch For All Mankind, Cody is Gordo. You start off hating him because, on the show, he's a philandering ass. But by the end of it, he's like one of like the best characters, and you're cheering, everything. And he's like, I'm going to the moon to get my wife back. And you're like, hell yeah, Gordo, good for you. And they're not the exact same.
Spoilers, but yeah.
It's one line. Come on.
No. I'm just worried that you take it to another.
I'm not going to say anything more. I'm not going to say anything more. I'm not going to say anything more. That's where I'm stopping about Gordo. But my point is that Cody is like, at first he's saying all this silly, this silly stuff. And you're just like, this guy's a dumbass. And by the end of it, you're like, oh, wait, no, this guy's a dumbass.
This fucking guy.
Yeah, this guy's a dumbass. Hell yeah.
That is the Gordo Stevens experience. Yeah, I also think it kind of ties back to what we were talking about in the early part of it. There's a bit of a sameness about how they're introducing all the characters. That all aren't these nice people, and aren't we rooting for them all? I hope, can we just divide that check up 20 different ways? Right. Cody's a very different energy, even though he also got the sob story, which at that point is like, okay, we're going like this is how maudlin it is that they like, date caption a photo of his friend, like, okay, pull back a bit, Survivor. Again, I don't know his feelings for his friend or whatever, and actually the way that came up was fairly organic. He's looking at
the way that came up was hilarious. I'm sorry, the way that came up was, my friend lost his leg, and that was and we thought the fact that he couldn't walk was the worst thing that ever happened to him.
And you think he's going, but it ended up being great. It was like, but then we lost him. But it wasn't because he died.
Right. No,
the leg, really.
But the way he said he died was so great, because like we thought that was the worst thing could happen to him, and now he's looking at me down from heaven, and I'm like, wait, he died?
It's fucking fucking
Justine
guy.
didn't even say that he died at first. They had to go back to him. They obviously were like filming that, and they were like, "Wait, did he die?" And they had to go back to him to get the rest of the story, which is then when we got it. Oh my god,
yeah,
that
so
was
he
the
should-
moment I turned around on Cody, because that
Yeah,
was the
right.
moment. That was the moment.
Now
I
we're
went,
really
"Oh,
living. He just has such a different energy than the rest of the cast that has been allowed to have thus far.
Yes.
The producers don't feel the need for Cody to be one of their inspirational figures, despite the rest in peace, his football buddy. I don't know why I made that seem sarcastic, like genuinely, but it felt like a bit much the way the show did it. Okay. They're like, this guy's a character. It's like, yeah, I like characters. Again, I don't want everybody to be a character, but I need the more variety than what we've gotten. And again, I want to keep saying it's 2 episodes, but it's 3.5 hours too. So yeah, no, I am warming up to Cody the same way. Like, again, maybe I don't like him, but I like the energy he's bringing. I like the fact that we're not sure what he's going to do, other than we know for a fact he's sacrificing his vote the next chance he gets, because I loved it. I love when he got, as soon as he found that Beware Idol just sitting there. I don't know if the producers threw it right there. Who cares? There was no doubt in my mind what was going to happen. I'm like, of course he's going to take it. First off, I'm already of the opinion, as much as everybody's like, oh no, like this is going to teach people. Everybody takes advantage of the show. That's one of the reasons why it's less interesting about like, oh, there's going to be a penalty. Survivor is taught its players, go for it. You better go for it, or you never. So like everybody's going to take the risk. Now, maybe somebody would have been like, but we're voting in 2 hours, so maybe I shouldn't, but not Cody.
No, not Cody. The thing was, it felt like Cody was almost there. He was like, "Oh, a Beware advantage. Last year, a Beware advantage meant I lost my vote before I could do something. I'm taking this advantage."
He had already opened it, so I'm not even sure if he could turn back before.
Yeah, he was probably, and then like after he opened, he's like, "Oh, right, I got to vote in 2 hours." It's like, oh my god, Cody.
Fucking beautiful.
He's like a golden retriever. He has like kind of that energy.
And again, like, I don't know that I could stand being in a room with Cody.
Oh no.
It is a mistake to think that the people on TV that you watch on TV need to be people you would hang with. It's nice to have a couple. Absolutely.
Yep.
But some of my favorite shows of all time are nothing but people I would never want anything to deal with. Now, some that maybe go too far, but like, yeah, like who am I hanging out with in succession? Absolutely no one.
Oh wow! Wait! Are you saying that you're not hanging out with, Jeremy Strong, rapping Kendall right there?
That's right. I mean, I would want to be there live when he busts out LCBOG just to see if I could watch. But no, I do not want to be in the limo with him and Cousin Greg.
I mean, you could talk basketball with him. He named his son Iverson after all.
I don't know that I'd enjoy that conversation either. Something tells me that we watch it differently. Yeah, no, like again, I would not want to be around Cody. I'm sure he would annoy me, but on TV and doing things and forcing people to react to him, I'm here for some more episodes of that at least.
I am too. And look, I'm not saying I want Cody to go all the way, but like, I need some stuff. I need some Cody energy in my pre-merge. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and look, at least until they let other people have similar, like different energy. I don't even like, they don't have to be Cody. Maybe nobody else is Cody, but more than just, yeah, we're big fans of Survivor and we know like the playbook, and also, I'm here to inspire a generation. You're on television competing for $1 million.
I mean,
yeah. What did you? I think we touched on it, but just to make sure, in case you have other thoughts, the scene with him getting the beads. What did you think of that?
I like the beads idea as like a change up to the phrases. I think it's smart. It's something that's more kind of like interpersonal around the camp. It still requires a fair bit of legwork, so it's not going to happen all at once. It was kind of a fun scene in like the way that
you say that, but it kind of happened all at once.
It did. But what I was gonna say was like it was kind of funny in that I don't think it would have worked if it was anyone other than Cody. Like Cody had the perfect excuse to be asking people for beads because he's Cody, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's just Cody being Cody."
Whatever.
Right.
Let's give it to him because it's amusing us. We're bored as shit out here, so sure.
Right.
Do a
Right.
Cody
It's
thing with
amusing
it.
us. We're bored of shit, and also like maybe he'll stop talking about this if we give it to him. Maybe it's annoying us, you know.
Yeah.
I like that. Like for a while, I thought like I was like, did Cody just run out because Noelle just liked her beads? She was like, I like my bracelet, and it's like if that was what actually ended his chance at it, that would be pretty funny. Like,
Yeah, that would be great because
and
why
I
not? You know, like yeah,
not?
why should she have to give up her bracelet? She's done something decorative with it just as he has, right?
Yes.
And I love
you
that
know,
there's like no suspicion to it. It's just like, oh no, I'm using them.
I would have, you know, I also liked how, you know, once you started like resisting, then you have like her own allies like chiming in as like, oh, give him the beads, or yeah, it's like give him the beads. And, like he didn't even have to say anything after like initially, you know, it was a good idea by Jesse to turn it into like the hat. He didn't have to like target a specific bead, which would have then like, you know, maybe triggered someone being suspicious.
Yeah, I want to see somebody fail at this now too, right?
I
Like
think
that
we're
was-
going to. I think
Well,
we're
yeah,
going to
'cause,
see someone
like
fail at it.
imagine Sammy after doing this. It's like, no, I'm a dude. I need that bead, bro.
Yeah.
It's for my mom. Yeah, no, it's just so. What I do also like about it is that it is not automatically a protracted no vote situation.
Yes.
Frankly, I suspect it'll be you can do it or you're not. You can't type situation.
agree.
Although it can lead to other strategies, like Emma pointed out online, like, well, then just get rid of Noelle, and then next week you have all the beads of the tribe.
Yep.
Because that was kind of like as funny as the phrases were, and they were. I'm not going to let people rewrite that. I mean, certainly there were people that did not enjoy it because it was a bit
They're
much,
curmudgeons.
right?
Yeah.
But the fact that like it wouldn't even matter how good you are or aren't. If you find it on day 3 of a cycle, or I guess 2 at this point, you have to wait to find out, and then it's completely dependent on somebody else. And then we already saw like a strategy last year of that somebody had it, but they weren't going to be the person to say it, at least until they heard 2 others, right? So there's a penalty, but it is something that you can possibly overcome. And like frankly, the instant like it was all like laid out how this works, I'm like, oh man, I would have loved to see Tony get after this.
Yep.
And we might see, I mean, again, there was some of that energy to what Cody was doing, and there might be from other people. Because I do not mind the idea of there is risk in taking these idols, because I think a common complaint prior to 41 was just that like idols were too powerful. Somebody would get it and it would just reshape the game around it. Now, obviously, a lot of people with idols have been voted out of that, but most winners had an idol. Now I feel like this potential penalty, which again we've only seen one person turn it down, so I don't know how much people are going to turn it down, but we've certainly seen people get hurt by it. We saw people get voted out because they didn't have their vote.
Yep.
So I do think that like that maybe nerfs it a bit in a way that might be healthy for the game.
No, I agree. So I'm excited. I like the beat idea. I think this was a good introduction to it because it was Cody and it was kind of silly. I'm excited to see how other people do with it too. I think it's actually pretty interesting because I do think that this one, it could be a little harder for some people than the other one was. Well, for some people a lot harder. But yeah.
And I suspect it'll be around for 2 seasons and then something else.
Yes,
and
I suspect
that's
the same
thing. Now to get idols, there is a penalty. You don't know what it's going to be, and let's see what happens.
Well, at least pre-merge. I think.
And that's it. That's all I want is pre-merge. After that,
agree.
Either have them or don't. Let it flow.
Right, especially because in a 3-tribe season, having an idol on a tribe of 6 is so huge.
Yeah.
I think having
at that point,
penalty.
what can you do, right? Like, obviously there's a split vote, but we just saw a split vote fuck up,
Yeah.
to the point where, if Cody had not gotten his vote, it would not have mattered. Justine's still going home because they tried to protect against the shot in the dark.
Shot in the dark, which, by the way, the show has actually not confirmed that they're doing again. Like, we haven't seen Jeff ask about that. Have you noticed that?
I have, but I have to assume that they're all holding a dice and thus they know of its existence.
I mean, I assume the same. I just was like, this is kind of interesting. They haven't talked about it. I guess they're just assuming.
Maybe they've answered my prayers and changed it from a dice to just some other form of token.
Maybe.
Because oh my god, I did not talk about this last week, and it was a big gap. But last week they had this hourglass, and then they fucking flipped it over and let the sand pour out to represent the passage of time. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's not how hourglasses work on this show.
Oh my god, it is performing its function. So yeah, maybe a coin or something rather than a dice.
Yeah,
you don't get to roll. I would have loved it if somebody got up to that time, saw the hourglass and just fucking smashed it. Like, I know what to do. We're redoing that opening challenge. Hey, so yes, any other thoughts on Vesty Tribe?
Nah, I think we covered them pretty well.
Yeah. All right, Baka. Let's move back to them.
Yeah.
Baka. That was terrible.
No.
I would edit it out, but I'm not going to edit this, as many of you probably have already figured out. So last week they had, obviously they went to tribal, they had a decision to make, and now we get to see a bit of the fallout amongst, again, Chorin. People drinking water, making old Survivor references. This is what the extra 30 minutes are all about. Do you think that this will actually be a battle of the sexes? This was the big hot topic. Like, as soon as they caved and voted out Mariah in this grave injustice, as opposed to every other first boot in the history of the show, that the women were doomed. And now we get a bit of the story. The guys might join up. What do you think?
I think that we would have no doubt about which way this was going. Like, if Gabler didn't have an idol, it would be pretty obvious who'd be next off on that tribe. But
if only there was some way to avoid such a situation of tying your entire wagon to an incredibly incompetent player. If only there had been a sign. It's not their fault. How would they know that this guy isn't quite up to the task? It's not like, for instance, he called everybody over to discuss the fact that he's not up to the task and maybe they should consider voting him out. No! There was no way of knowing. And I suppose what we did get a bit this episode is a bit of confirmation that they made a false assumption.
Yeah.
They assumed that that idol was not something they'd have to live with for long. Now, even there, baked into that assumption is that you're not going to tribal council in this second one, which I don't know is an assumption you can make when you're at the first one already. I mean, frankly, it's not an assumption anybody should ever make.
Yeah.
But when you already have evidence of your lack of infallibility, then maybe, just maybe, you should think about voting out somebody who is offering it to you as an option.
These people, not a lot of foresight there. Let's put it that way.
Oh my God, Gabler can't do anything. I can't wait to get rid of. Oh crap!
It was honestly pretty funny how everyone's like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure that he's not there," and then they look through their bag as they should. They should know how his advantage works. They should find out.
That's right. Oh, it's unfair that it looked through his personal stuff. There's no personal stuff.
Get the hell out of there. If he doesn't want them to know what it says, bury it.
Personal. The thing that the show just gave him. Why does he get to have that and you guys don't get to see it? That should be posted somewhere.
Why do you think people hid stuff in their crotches or buried it? It's because they didn't want people to find it, because they knew that going through your bag was actually fair game.
Fair play. You know who hates it when they go through people's bags? My wife. She just blood boils. I think it's become commonplace enough But I don't know if she was as bothered last night as the more like, of course. And maybe she's rooting for Jeannie or something, or Janine, sorry. Or maybe it's just extreme concern for like how roughed up Janine already is. That's rough.
Yeah, how the heck did that happen?
It must have been when she was trying to get under the wood plank. He had to dig, and she was really stuck there.
Okay. I just remember like watching.
I think she like scraped the skin off her face. That's rough.
Basically.
Luckily, there's no way for that to get infected when they're out there. Such a clean environment. Prayers up, Jeannie. But yeah, my wife tends to hate that. But yeah, for me, I'm like, sure. I can understand, like, it's a vestige of like old Survivor morality, but it's like, they're playing for $1 million here. Okay? Yeah. Oh no, I daren't find out whether this person has something that completely send me home. I bet the people who like, I respect personal boundaries, and if I'm eliminated from this, probably my only chance to ever do this as a result, well, hey, that's just fair play. We shake hands at the end. No, fuck no. You go through that bag.
Damn straight.
And you hide your stuff.
Yeah.
Them's the rules. And actually, I think I did find out from other former survivors who were both like, no way, you do whatever you need to do. Personal space, is there actually are given like a little, like a separate bag for like truly personal things.
Yeah.
That I believe they leave with production and then can get access to. Thus, nobody can look at them and nobody's allowed to. And this would be like medication, personal, like that.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you don't really have personal effects, man. We're not in that kind of society anymore, informing their own rules. So yeah, no, yeah.
But anyway, Battle of the Sexes. I do think it is now breaking down along those lines, because I think the women have separated themselves and they've made it too obvious that they're together. And I think the other three, the three guys are like, yeah, if they're together, then we should maybe vote one of them out.
Yeah. I still like Ellie and Janine's chances of outsmarting Gabler and Sammy. I'm sorry, but I'm just going that direction. And I just kind of get the vibe that Owen really doesn't care for Gabler and Sammy that much anyway. When Sammy is making this proposal, Owen isn't all like, yeah, brother. He says like yes because you always say yes, but no, I think Owen will eventually just be with Ellie and Janine.
Owen's gonna go whichever way keeps him alive the longest, because he realizes like, oh damn, I could have gone last episode really easily.
Now here's the monkey wrench. They can't vote on Gabler, so
they can't vote on Gabler, which means they have to vote on Sammy, and Sammy is, well, he's the physically strongest on that tribe. So
by a significant margin.
Significant margin. So I think, like the choice is going to be, does Owen want to vote out Sammy? In which case he's like, then we might be going right back here.
Then suddenly I'm the like physical one. Like I'm already tired of carrying all this water.
Exactly. But and then he's like, and then if we come back here, then I got to vote out Gabler, and then I'm really the physical one.
That party probably won't mind too.
Yeah, that probably won't mind. But it's just, I think he, I agree. Ellie's definitely smarter than Sammy and Gabler, but sometimes being smarter doesn't actually do anything on the show.
Yeah, but like we get the preview of Sammy like filling in Gabler what's going on. Again, I'm not afraid of the Sammy Gabler duo. I'm sorry, I'm just not. What you do once Owen starts kind of like, hey, guess what, Owen? You know who Sammy wanted to vote out instead of Mariah? You.
That's right. Yeah.
So as long as Ellie and Janine can get, wind of this, plot against them by Gabler and Sammy, I think she can outmaneuver it. All right. Anything else on Baka?
No, I just like, Gabler's the only other one this season who's given like a totally different energy than everyone else. Only in his case, it's like, yeah, I don't really want to see that anymore. I'm good, thanks.
You know what? I'll cop. Sammy is as well, and also same. I'm not waiting at the store for your mom to pick you up. That hiding your 19-year-old thing is going so well, Sammy.
He's the pet cremator, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He did have that great line in the first episode.
That oven.
Yeah, he's like, they're not alive when we do that. They're not alive. It's like, yeah, we know.
I knew. Until you said that, and now I think that you have a hoop installed.
Now I do
Kobe!
have some questions.
Yeah. As soon as he said that bit about his mom, like it's beat, and then my wife and I just turn at each other. Oh my god, I am Jesse. I can't stop mentioning her. It's just like
Is
stop
John your
having
is,
children on my show. You know what? That's another Ninja Warriorification that you need to stop, because that show has been taken over by teenagers, and you can't argue that they don't belong because they're really good at it. But I didn't know I was signing up for a teenage competition show. At least in Survivor, they prevented them from having success. All right, Coco is the third tribe. I have no takes.
I like everyone on Coco. I mean, like, let's put it this way. This week I was like, I want to see a tribe other than Coco go, because I like Coco, and I feel like whoever goes home from there, I'll be a little disappointed. Look, Coco is the person I'm obligated to root for because James is also from Philadelphia, so he's my guy. Now so is Mariah, but Mariah's already gone, and I didn't realize she was from Philly till she was gone. So
yeah. Whereas for me, like, James is the one I could afford to lose.
No, that's true.
I really liked Ryan and Gio's dynamic. I'd like to get more of it, but the only way we get more of that is if a third tribe decides to send a woman home first. So like, maybe not.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if that doesn't happen. Now, maybe they just don't go to tribal council. We don't have to worry about it. But whereas,
which honestly, I kind of think might be happening.
That is in play.
Yeah.
Again, and frankly, it's in play for the most basic of reasons, the reasons that we've seen actually a few times through now. Having that one athletic guy when like nobody else does is such a huge advantage in the in the three tribe format.
I mean, they also seem to have people that are pretty good at puzzles too.
We saw it with Danny. So it's just like it's just so much more than it's not an equalizer. Cody does not equal Ryan. Sammy does not equal Ryan, at least not yet. And maybe that's just the difference. Again, unless you're just so bad at puzzles, but they haven't been. So
yeah, they haven't been. So
grand champion chess player. I don't know if he's grand champion, but he's a chess player.
Yeah, he was a good chess player for a long time.
And I don't think that's another beads situation. Boom, boom. I tied into what was happening on this episode with current events. Oh my God, I am a god of podcasting. So right now, after saying that, my wife will probably like listen to this, I don't know, while doing chores. Again, all my stories are about
and then ask you questions about that.
Yeah, she will have no idea what I was talking about. So honey, I'll inform you later about the story of beads and chess.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that chat.
Yeah. Somehow my fiance guessed. I said, so there's a good chess story and it involves beads, and she knew exactly. And she was like, oh, does it work like this? And I'm like, wait, how the hell did you know that? I
don't know. Check her history. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't like. Again, I liked the Gio and Ryan's thing.
I did too.
Also, here's an embarrassing thing: didn't realize almonds grew on trees. That was
I did not either. That's okay. I was like, oh, okay.
I don't know that I thought they grew a different way. I just had never given it thought. Like I if you would have asked me like plants, right? Like I understand they grew from the ground.
Yeah, I just like you. I never gave it a thought.
Above the ground.
Yeah.
But like when they're seeing them go through it, I guess, it's like chocolate in that it grows on a tree high above, and then you have to tear it down from something this big to something that big, and then do a bunch of things to make it suitable for eating. Yeah. And somehow people think that that's an acceptable replacement for milk. This is what you come for. This is what we get when they give us an extra half hour. It has to be 90 minutes. So much great content. I know now. Now I feel like I'm doing that thing where I'm like yucking people's yum. If you're a big fan, I understand that you just always want more. But like there's other shows out there, man. Like watch other things. Sometimes it's better to be left wanting than to get more and be like, I could have done with less.
Yeah.
On that note, anything else to say?
No, I think we're good.
All right. You can find us on our website, purplerockpodcast.com. subscribe in the various places that you generally subscribe to podcasts. If there's something like you do use podcasts or we're not there, let us know. And maybe in a few months, I'll remember to get us there. Unless there costs money, in which case that's not going to happen. There's a good chance that maybe one of those theirs have already like asked us to be there and I forgot. So there's that. YouTube, we are there. This is a video, so you can watch it there. And that's all I got. I'm going to hit some theme music.
Yeah, hit it.